Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a DIY Dollar Tree modern spring wreath. These are these cute hoop wreaths. So we're going to use a 20-inch hula hoop. They come in 3 different sizes. We're going to use some flowers. We have magnolias, peonies, hydrangeas, some of this Queen Anne's lace, but you choose what you want. Some burlap ribbon, a glue gun, and a scissor. Yep, I'm saying glue gun and scissor. Don't tell anybody. This is another one of those crafts that I got off of Pinterest. I was kind of fascinated by these hoop wreaths. I started seeing them made out of embroidery hoops. And I just thought that they were so chic, but still farmhousey with the burlap and the flowers. So I thought I'd throw my hat in there and, throw my hand in there and get one going. So I chose the 20-inch hula hoop. According to the website, and I saw at the store, they do have 3 different size hula hoops at the Dollar Tree: 20-inch, 24-inch, and 28-inch. And I picked a 20-inch one. But if you want to make this bigger, if you have a space to hang a bigger one, you absolutely could just go for it. I'm only using one spool of this wire-edged burlap ribbon, but again, you can use whatever you choose. I picked the natural color, and it did take some fiddling, like to get the ribbon to lay properly and to just, wind it at that certain angle that'll keep it neat. And it wasn't perfect, and it looks good though, so don't beat yourself up if yours isn't perfect, because mine didn't come out perfect either. It looks really good though. So what I did was I used a little hot glue on the inside of the wreath before I glued the burlap down to get it started. And again, you want to start it at an angle. And then I'm just using my patience and I'm wrapping it around. And again, you don't want to overlap a little bit. This hula hoop has a pattern on it. So you want to make sure that if you use a open weave burlap, that you cover it enough or overlap it enough so that you don't see the pattern coming through. And or also you could spray paint it underneath or do something to hide underneath the burlap. We've done craft paper under burlap, so not to see through the holes and stuff. And this ribbon is not going to go all the way around. It doesn't need to. But you can if you want to. If you want to get a second spool and you want to keep going to close it up, you absolutely can. Again, I said I didn't need to because that's where I'm going to put my flowers. But you guys do as you choose. I was going to use the natural unfinished edged burlap from the Dollar Tree, but I just thought that with the modern look, that the wire-edged one just gives it a little bit more of a clean finish. A little less rustic, but still farmhousey. Sort of a modern farmhouse. And I am not putting a hanger on this, like a jute loop, which you could, because I wanted to have the option of hanging it in different ways, in different directions, basically with the flowers on the bottom, or the flowers on the side, or even the flowers on the top. On my over-the-door wreath hook hanger, it does seem to hold with all at each position. But another way to do it, if you don't want to, if you don't have an over-the-door wreath hook, is you could take a loop of twine, like jute twine, and you can loop it where you want it to hang, and that will help. Basically, instead of gluing it like we've done in the past, you can use tie one whole loop and then basically feed it on itself. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm so sorry. So we're taking flowers off the... Don't do a voiceover in the middle of the night. So now we're just removing some of the flowers. And what I did was out of all the flowers I chose, I liked the hydrangea leaves the best. So I pulled off the hydrangea leaves, and each hydrangea bush it's got 5 separate leaves on it. 5 separate flower stems. And each stem had a leaf bundle with 3 different leaves on it. So I had about 15 leaves. So I divided them in roughly half, and I started gluing them over the edge of where the end of the burlap was. And I laid them sort of flat. And I'm going to zoom in here when it gets to it. But I basically started, I started at the edge of the burlap and worked in towards the center. And I went from side to side, left and right, back and forth, sort of in a stair-step pattern, so that I could cover underneath where the flowers would be. The other thing that I didn't mention that you need, and I highly suggest you use, is one of the flexible cutting mats or craft mat, because this wreath isn't very big, like a lot of glue surface. So sometimes I had a thing where the glue actually dripped off of the wreath, and I wanted to make sure that I had something under it so I didn't glue the wreath to the table. I did actually end up gluing the wreath to the craft mat. Because the craft mat is flexible and plastic, it does peel off, and you'll see that at the end. Okay, and you can see I'm just going back and forth and back and forth, and coming down, a little bit each time. And this is supposed to look natural, and nothing perfect in nature, except everything's perfect in nature. I know that sounds weird, but perfectly imperfect is what we always try to achieve here. I am just putting a little glue on the part where I cut the leaves off. I'm not trying to glue up the whole leaf. The leaf, I want it to be free flow, but I do want to make sure it sticks. And some of the leaves were unruly, because after all, they're from the Dollar Tree. And if you've ever bought florals from the Dollar Tree, they're all shoved into these little tiny, and actually that's everywhere you go. The leaves sometimes take on a shape of their own because of the way that they're packaged and stuff. So, if the Dollar Tree does sell leaves on a vine, like ivy and things like that, which they're bigger and you could use for that look as well. I've actually seen a lot of these wreaths now this spring with magnolia leaves on them, and I actually saw magnolia leaves in, I think it was one of the Dollar Trees here in Raleigh, I think around St. Louis, but I didn't want to go for the magnolia leaves. I just went for the magnolia flowers. And oddly enough, the leaves on the magnolia flowers are not magnolia leaves. So now I've taken, like I said, I kind of divvied the leaves up in my head, like in half, and I now going from the other direction. I want the leaves to lay, so if I'm looking at the center of the space, I want them to lay in both different directions. So I want the leaves on the left to lay towards the left, and the leaves on the right to lay towards the right, as you can see. So even though I'm doing it like upside down. Now, as far as the flowers are concerned, I went with flowers that I liked. I was inspired to do this once I saw the magnolia blossoms, because all of the spring wreaths that I have seen before were always with really large flower blossoms. And until I found these magnolia flowers, I wasn't really finding any flowers that I liked that were a large blossom. They have sort of this like almost bird of paradise sort of thing now, but I'm not really crazy about that one. But I do love magnolias. They do remind me of visiting in the South, and Jim, every time now he says steel magnolias, you can't tell him there's a magnolia blossom or a magnolia leaf on anything, and he'll start ripping into the movie. Not ripping into it, but quoting it. So like I said, I just went back and forth with the leaves, and once the leaves are all finished, or you get exactly how many you like, like I said, I just did these with the hydrangea leaves, or the leaves that are on the hydrangea plant. I went ahead and I started with the magnolia flowers. I told you guys before that I took a class at 1-800-Flowers back in the day, and they did tell us to start from basically the base to the special flowers. However, with the Dollar Tree flowers, and I'm not really having they don't really have stems for me to actually stick in places, I'm starting with the 3 magnolia blossoms. I picked 3 because in things in decorating, you try to be in odd numbers, except when I am a little bit of a perfectionist. So then I'll do 3 of the magnolia blossoms, since they're the main flower, and then I will mirror image left and right. So I actually end up having only 2 peonies on each side, but I do end up having 3 hydrangea blossoms on each side. And then just a tiny bit of the Queen Anne's lace. I picked the green Queen Anne's lace because I picked the white hydrangea with the green centers to kind of give it that fresh spring feel. I also saw that they had purple Queen Anne's lace, but I didn't see any other colors at my store. So if you guys have seen other colors, let me know down below. And then I'm just doing a mirror image. So the next thing I started then was the peonies. After the 3 magnolia blossoms were in the middle, and then I put a peony next to on each side next to it, and then I put one off a little bit. And then I'm going to go back in and I fill in with the hydrangeas. The hydrangeas I pulled off of their stems, as you can see. Last year when we worked with hydrangeas, I showed you how to shorten this stem and work with them, like basically make them into one giant hydrangea, which would normally be the way you'd find it in nature and in other craft stores. Okay, so I've now made it so you could see it centered, so I can try to mimic the left and right as best as possible. Now again, there's nothing perfect in nature, so you don't have to have it 100% exactly the same, but I like it symmetrical, so I'm doing my very best. And then again, nothing's perfectly imperfect as always. Okay, and then I'm just doing what looks good to me. So I think that like I said, there's 3 hydrangea blossoms on each side, 2 of the peonies on each side, which I like the pink peonies because it does bring in a little bit more color. There is pink in the center of the magnolias, and the pink peonies and the white hydrangeas have green centers, and the green Queen Anne's lace. So you see I kind of have like a color theme and a little bit of balance going. The Queen Anne's lace pulls off too. It's lovely. It's actually like a plastic spray painted beady, almost like the lavender was. And it's just so, I just thought it was so nice. It just looks so, it looks like a dried flower. And I know a lot of times the Dollar Tree flowers are not always the best quality, but they really have been stepping up their game as far as I'm concerned. I just love everything that's been coming out of there. Well, not everything. I'm not crazy about that bird of paradise thing. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it's just not my style of flower. It's not that it's not a well-made flower. It's just not my style of flower. Now, you could take the delphiniums, which are the long flowers that we used for different projects. You could make them go up long around the wreath, but the look of this modern hoop wreath is just to have a cluster of floral along the real thin, and leave the rest of the wreath done, like empty basically. So now I'm showing you how I peel off the mat. I also want to show you that I found the baby's breath again, which I was so excited for, but I ended up not using it. I really like the Queen Anne's lace better instead. So just make sure you hold your flowers when you peel off your plastic, if you do end up gluing to your plastic. And now what I wanted to do is to give this just a little bit more finished room in the back. You could possibly have a glass window that you would like to hang this on. Or, like if you hang it in your front window, then you could see the back of it. So I just wanted to have the back look finished and not look like a hula hoop. So I'm taking the 4 or 3 leaves off of, the first leaves were from the no, not the magnolias. Yeah, the first leaves were off of the magnolias. No, I'm wrong. The first leaves were off the peonies. And then what I did was I just glued them, put glue down the middle. I didn't cut these ones. I glued them, put a little glue down the middle, and I laid them across the hoop wreath, as you see, going in the direction perpendicular to the wreath. And then when I went back in with the other leaves that were actually from the magnolia, I started by putting them perpendicular, but then I realized it was much nicer if I put a big strip of glue down the double leaves and covered all of the wreath parts. And that's it. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, just leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family, anybody you know might be interested in making this or something like it. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. So as always, you take care. God bless. See you next time. Bye.